if you will allow me, I would like to read a few things to you just so that we could have a general understanding. Seize private property. Okay, happy 78th birthday to the MTA, and thank you for getting me home from Midtown at 9 p.m. in less than 30 minutes. Okay, pretty cool. Private property, including and kind of especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy masquerading as wealth building public policy. Oh, okay. And you're probably wondering why I'm reading this, or who is this person in general. This individual, Cea Weaver, is someone who works for that guy everybody seemingly hates called Zoran Mamdani, who is someone who looks at home ownership as a beacon of white supremacy. Mayor Zoran Mamdani's newly appointed tenant advocate called to seize private property and blasted home ownership as a weapon of white supremacy. Cea Weaver, Mamdani's new director of the city office to protect tenants, made statements and urged followers to elect more communists in several lecturing posts on a now deleted Twitter account. And you know what? Perfectly fine to have all these opinions, because we live in a world where these opinions, they're everywhere, and everyone's gonna have differing opinions about how to operate and who to turn to get those things going in some way, shape, or form. But it needs to be understood that when you burp out these opinions, you will be subjected to criticism and people seeing these things and saying, okay, explain that. Explain to everybody how you, a white person, will look at home ownership as white supremacy. And then afterwards, you're going to have to explain to someone, maybe as most people who look like that put it, person of color, how if they own a home, they are now a part of white supremacist talking points. And then once you jump through those hoops and realizing that you're probably not going to be able to answer that honestly, you then get somebody who is a little bit of a hypocrite, because people found out that she lived in a home that was owned by her mother, which means that she, Cea Weaver, is a white supremacist who spent a good time not really standing by the words she lives by. Mayor Zoran Mamdani's newly instated radical left tenant advocate broke down on Wednesday as she dodged questions from reporters about her gentrification hypocrisy. The 37-year-old, who was faced backlash for blasting home ownership as a weapon of white supremacy in the past, teared up when she emerged briefly from her apartment building in Crown Heights, Brooklyn at about 9 a.m. Weaver, who was tapped by Mamdani to be his new director of city office to protect tenants, quickly ran back inside after she was asked about the $1.6 million home her mother owns in Nashville, Tennessee. And herein lies my broader issue. When you have people dedicated to trying really hard to sound like they have it all figured out, you must be willing to recognize potentially you might be a hypocrite. That's not to say you probably won't spend time doing some good work in New York. It's more to say, hey, when you explain this, or when you try to cascade something as white supremacy, and you have people in your life, and potentially yourself also, who grew up, I guess, benefiting from that, how are you willing to combat it? How are you willing to change the course so that, I guess, it's no longer a weapon of white supremacy? How are you going to take that and change it for the better? You can't just run back into your home and dodge the question, because the question is going to follow you. Because when you step into this political landscape, people are going to dig into previous statements that you said just to know if you still stand by them. And if you do, great. At least you've dug your heels in it to where, you know what, you're not really going to change your stance, and you're going to try to explain it and try to create a system that leads to better outcomes to where more people can afford homes. Or you're going to tuck your tail in your puss and decide to dodge the questions as best you can and act as if that's somehow going to be beneficial to you, and it is not. Because for the longest time, people have just spouted that most things are white supremacy for the idea of political theater. And it's led to motherfuckers falling into a trap of trying to explain in every different way how different things are white supremacist talking points, attack dogs, political strategies, all of that. And when you can't explain it, you make it look like, okay, the rule is for everybody else, not for me. Because, you know, I got a little chocolate on me. And when I look at this picture of this woman, I don't know. She doesn't look to be dark skinned. I feel like if I turn off all the lights, I could still see her. So it's like, are you really in this realm of benefit, or are you just wanting people to look at you as a wholesome outlook? Maybe or maybe not.
The reason why white liberal women are the most dangerous things on the planet is quite simple. They have nothing in their life that they have to worry about. No struggles, no problems. They wake up, they got to figure out what coffee they're going to drink, what robe they're going to put on, what shade of makeup they have to put on, or whatever. They don't really have problems in their life. So they're bored and they have nothing to do. And us being humans, thousands of years of being hunter-gatherers and struggling to survive, it's really been like the last 100+ years where Western civilization, you could really just chill and live your life. So it's still hardwired in your DNA to find something to fight against, because that's what we've done most of our history. So the white liberal woman with nothing to do, she sees somebody else's problem and she imprints it onto herself. That way, she has something to do. She has something to fight against. And the most dangerous part, she's not bored anymore. I mean, why do you think they put the LGBTQ flag in her bio, the Palestine flag, the Venezuela flag, the Ukraine flag, there's a lot of flags now that I think about it. They was there for BLM, Stop Asian Hate. They start to push all of this stuff because they have nothing themselves that they have to fight against. And the scariest part is they don't give a fuck about any of it. They don't care what's happening in Palestine. They don't care what's happening in the Ukraine. They don't even care what happened in Venezuela. The Venezuelans are cheering and they're telling them to stop cheering. They don't really care. They just want to be seen as important. And that's the most dangerous thing. These people do not care about your problems. If it's not popular, they're not going to say anything about it. You want to know how I know? How come nobody is talking about what's happening in the Congo and Sudan right now? I'll wait. They tell you they love black people, but let me be walking down the sidewalk at night. They're gonna clutch that purse a little harder or probably cross the street. They claim not to be racist, but have a legitimate superiority complex when it comes to other people who do not look like them. It's all just a virtue signal and a grasp of trying to be relevant, bro.
And I want to be perfectly clear. This is not to ignore the growing concerns of the housing market and how the prices are abhorrent to the point where you got to sell your ass and maybe one of your testicles to even be considered to buy a house. It's to say that when you spend time mapping out problems or speaking about them in general, and you get confronted about them when there's a little bit of hypocrisy in you, it's important to answer the question and navigate how you're going to combat what you view as an issue. And when you spend your time talking about how we live in a world where this is a weapon of white supremacy, that's a weapon of white supremacy, over there is a weapon of white supremacy, and people notice that you might be a little bit of a hypocrite, you need to answer the question and also show a map out of what you're willing to do to start game planning an actual plan of action to combat it. Maybe shrink the prices of the houses so that people may have a chance to afford them, because the way it's looking, nobody's going to be able to afford a fucking house at all. And it's a damn shame, because sitting chestnuts roasting on an open fire seemingly is the perfect outcome that many people could hope for, but they can't because nobody could fucking afford them. Don't tuck your tail in your puss and run and hide when people ask you about how your mom got a house and she's white, so that means you're placating in a little bit of white supremacy and you're benefiting from it and your mother's benefiting from it. Answer the questions and map out how you're going to be able to combat it, because when you don't, congratulations, your political opponent already got the ammunition ready to fire. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all in the next one. Mwah. Bye-bye.